Hey, Tom Trento coming from our renovated studios, undergoing renovation in Florida, with a fascinating intelligence briefing. We really want you guys to take a look at this briefing by Sergeant Tim Williams of the Cochise County Sheriff's Department. His program, SABRE program, implemented by Sheriff Mark Daniels and Chief Thad Smith. They hosted us about a month ago down in Cochise County. They got 85 miles of border in that one county. They showed us how they creatively solved some of the problems that other states are having a hard time with, capturing illegal aliens, drug smugglers, traffickers. So take a look at this briefing, and at the end of the briefing, I'll give you an update on what we're doing in the United West here in our studios and the battle we're going to have in 2020 in the United States and specifically in the state of Florida. Check this out.
My name is Sergeant Williams. I'm with the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, and I'm in charge of the SABRE unit.
What does SABRE stand for?
Southern Arizona Border Region Enforcement. So, and then been in charge of this unit as a sergeant for 2.5 years, and then I was on it as a detective for 3 years before that. So,
what's the primary purpose of the SABRE unit?
Just protecting the Cochise County residents from any kind of border crime issues. And so here's another one, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is him right here. This is him now running from us right here. Can you see him right there?
Yeah.
And so now we've responded to the area within minutes, and now he's running from us, and we end up catching them all. I don't know if you can see the massive amount of bruising and damage to their backs from carrying the packs. This is only a 3-mile journey for them one way. It would take, I don't know how many to get, I mean, the bruises are like this, and they're open wounds from them carrying packs. These guys were hardcore drug mules that we were encountering right away. Some of them were, these guys right here are brothers. I got a better picture of this coming up. So here we go right here. So you have two brothers. They were the operational running. I'm just under 6'5". They were my size, but maybe weighed 170 pounds. So these guys were built for speed, running. Luckily, at that point, I had two guys in my unit that were exactly like them, and they were faster. So, and then you have your two guys here. So most of them came from Cananea. This guy claimed he was from Mexico City. Cananea is a big border town just south of our border. So, and they were working. All four of these guys took the plea agreement for 2 years of prison time. So.
And then what happens when they get out?
They'll be deported felons, but they will come back, and we'll be ready for them in 2 years. So this is where the chief was talking about. Right now, they were getting paid anywhere from $1,000 to, depending on their level of experience. Now the illegal aliens that we're seeing, they're having to pay $6,000 to cross the border. So the amount of money they're paying, it's way more profitable and less hazardous for them to smuggle humans right now than it is marijuana. Yeah. So right now it's about $6,000, if I remember right, to cross. No, they're coming and they owe $3,000 up front and $3,000 when they get to their destination. And if they don't, they will be severely punished on that aspect. Not that I know of. It's all, what we've done interviews, it's all coming from, they'll sell something or they'll get the money, but it's about $3,000 up front, $3,000 when you get to the arrival spot. And that also buys you 3 attempts. That's what we've learned, is that you get 3 attempts to come across. If you don't make it in 3 attempts, then you have to pay that fee over again. So that's at least what we got through interviews. Now, mind you, this is stuff we get after post-arrest interviews and stuff, things like that. So that, the booties, it just stops your sign. It makes more, it spreads out your weight differently, and it's carpet, and you just don't leave that foot sign. It's harder to track. There's a lot of techniques out there that you got to go after the turned over rock and things like that. Now we can clearly see they use the same route after we caught him, but he's actually using technology to talk. You can clearly see the radio in his hand. He's talking to somebody. These things don't really go that far, but he's talking to somebody either on the south side or the north side. And you can see at this point it was a group of 3. And that really became beneficial to determine if it was a cell phone or a radio, what they were using later on.
Where was this?
This is right down here, right down off the highway. So this is what became interesting, is that this was the United States citizen that went there to pick it up. And so we actually had enough time we had the Buckeye hit, we actually got inserted, laid in, waited for her, we watched the load up, and she came in, picked up the dope, and left, and we ended up making the stop on her. She was a United States citizen that lived in Naco, had a pretty rough life, and that was a vehicle that she was smuggling in.
Was she local?
Yes, she's a local. And she had, so you can see here's the marijuana stack that those individuals are carrying, and she had a 12-gauge shotgun and a revolver in her possession.
She got more than 2 years.
She's the one that fought it and got 5 years. So, which we even thought was kind of low because you had the weapons. She also had harder drugs on her, stuff like that, but they offered her a 5-year plea deal instead of the 2. The one problem with that is that it depends on, you'll learn that yes, that's on the books, but it also can be changed by the plea agreement that they offer the individual. So there's certain things that we have in the books, but it's all depends on the prosecutor and what the judge and all that determines. So we have similar I've seen similar cases where the individual got 55 years for something like this, but this one here they only offered 5 years. So it just depends on what's going on. Well, I will tell you right now, I'm seeing marijuana being smuggled everywhere but Cochise County. It's going around us right now because word got out that we have this prosecution set up that if you're caught here, you're going to prison. And that even came to light when we caught a group one time and they thought I was Border Patrol, and I pulled out my badge and said, no, I'm not Border Patrol. And that individual told us, well, I guess I'm going to prison now. And he knew. Word had gotten back that, because you're going to see here how many we actually arrested in this 1 year period out of that little area that we worked. This is just some different ideas, just different things that we saw, different kind of camouflage, different things that the Buckeye was picking up. And then they were actually starting to camouflage the bundles here. If you can see, they were starting to put sticks and things, and they were low crawling and things like that. This is just an illegal alien group here, but you can clearly see, if you can see that he's on a cell phone coordinating the load up, pickup. That's what we started seeing too. They were getting away from radios and using strictly cell phones. The throwaway phones that they would get, the Motorola versions or whatever that they would use them and they could be tossed. So this is what I'm talking about, low crawling. We were hammering them so hard that they were trying to come out of the low points. So they were staying in the thick grass and low crawling for miles. And so they were making their own knee pad and back support to do that with. And we started catching them, and this guy just took blankets, wrapped them up, and taped them to his knees so that he could low crawl. But you got to understand, that left a different trail than just normal walking, so we would just camera that. And and so we would start catching them low crawling and things like that. So we were hammering them in all different aspects in the county while they were trying to do this.
How far do they have to crawl?
Miles. Some would crawl miles on high grounds. So because it would take them a day or 2 days to do it. So so this individual here, this was another one too that he was one of the first ones that was recruited way outside of the area. So he came from Nogales, and he was talking about that we had arrested everybody in Naco, so they were starting to recruit people outside of the area, Nogales and even further, to come in to try to run this stuff. So the good thing for us is these people weren't familiar with the area either. So they actually were easier to apprehend because they didn't know where to run, didn't know how to get back. So this is, mind you, this is just that little test bed for the year that we were using. The blue was drug mules, and you can see the red is illegal aliens. And we kind of stopped this mid-November when we were doing it, but you can kind of see the progression that we were seeing in 2017. And then this was our felony arrest. We were averaging between 3 and 4 drug arrests a month. And then the marijuana seized. Mind you, this is just that little 3 by 14 mile corridor that you guys saw there. This was our test zone of what we were going to do. So we dubbed this Operation San Pedro because that was kind of the corridor we were looking at, 37 felony drug arrests, 100% conviction rate, 71 years dished out, and we seized just under 4,000 pounds. And we were able to catch, now mind you, 59% apprehension rate, just about 60. These are the most hardcore guys you can go after, period. These guys do not want to get caught. They're all in shape. They all like to run. They all like to fight you, things like that. So that apprehension rate is actually huge for that area because we were going against the best they had out there. And then we just saw under 400 illegal aliens in that little section on our test zone. No, we turned them over to Border Patrol. That's going, yeah. You got to understand that goes back to what we can do. We can only call Border Patrol when human smuggling is occurring to get the federal agency in there. We could arrest the smugglers because that's a drug offense in Arizona.
But if they're not having drug offense, you can't arrest them.
We have to turn them over to Border Patrol, correct?
There's no state statute of human smuggling.
There is, but there was a federal lawsuit that happened in 2011 or 12 that absolutely stopped that whatsoever. So there is a statute that that's on the books to this day, but it's stopped by that federal lawsuit. So we are not able to do that because of that. So. Okay, so some of the trends that we saw during that time frame is that they were significantly increasing their smuggling aspects. They were scouting their own routes. So they would take the marijuana up to a certain point, and then we would see them using binoculars, scouting their own route, and then they would take it a little further, and all of this was to try to combat what we were doing. And then they were blacklisting routes. They would say that they don't know where something's on that route, don't use that anymore. This goes back to kind of getting away from our little test bed. I'll go over this fairly quick, but this individual was smuggling drugs in that Chiricahua monument area. We have two national monuments, the Chiricahua one and the Coronado. This was in Chiricahua's. He pretty much was running a load of drugs, delivered his packages. He didn't want to walk back. So he found a worker cleaning some restrooms in the memorial there, or the monument, and he bashed her head in with a rock and almost killed her. And then he stole her vehicle and drove it back to Mexico. But on the way, he stopped at a Burger King and got some food, and that all came into play with DNA later. So I'm kind of going over this kind of quick, but this is him actually smuggling the drugs, caught on a Buckeye camera, and that little head bandana that he had his DNA on. He left that in the truck, which really helped with the prosecution part. This guy ended up getting 3 life sentences. We caught him. The detectives did a great job. But it all came, one of the biggest things that prosecuted him was a Buckeye picture of him smuggling the drugs in the United States near where this happened, because he was claiming he was nowhere near this. And then he claimed he was crazy, and there was a whole bunch of things going on. So it literally pinpointed him, and I believe the lady that got hurt, she's going to have issues the rest of her life because of this. She survived, but there's going to be brain damage the rest of her life from this. Going back to your question here, here's 3 pictures of them smuggling on the Arizona Trail, AR-15s right here, and 12-gauge shotgun right here. These are one of the most popular trails in Arizona. You now have illegal aliens, guiding groups, fully armed, and we can prove it because we get it on picture. So, and you can literally see what they're doing. You can clearly see the ARs and the 12-gauge shotgun here. 20 miles or maybe 10 miles into the United States at this point. I mean, this is miles and miles in the United States at that point.
What's the blackout?
It's blacking out different things, that landmarks.
Oh, okay.
And then the reason why it says Breitbart is that somebody leaked these pictures out to a news. So you can actually go online to Breitbart and look at these if you want to, because they were leaked out to a news media outlet. So this goes back to You remember that I was talking to you guys about 75 miles north? These individuals are 75 miles north of the line. So you can see that they're carrying huge bundles. They are literally all the way up to that point up here where I was talking about, past I-10. Where they're smuggling way, way up there. And so we have proof now that you can't deny this because we have proof that they're there. 75 miles north of the line, they're moving. And the crazy thing about it is this individual was the only one out of the group that was going to fight it, and he was wearing bright red shoes. And when we caught him, we could clearly say, go ahead and fight it. You were the only one wearing bright red shoes in that whole group, and you're wearing them right now. And because remember that huge mountain range I was telling you about? They can stay in that for days. There's water, there's food sources up there, there's everything. And nobody goes after them up there. And they come out at I-10 and they can bypass all of the infrastructure that BP has because they're way up in, I'm telling you, it's hard to put it in perspective how wilderness area that is. There's nobody up there. And they stay up there for days. I actually take really great pride in the fact that we have pushed them out of some of that areas because I consider it the most prettiest part of Cochise County. But for years I would never go up there unless I was heavily armed because I knew what we were going into. You can go up there now and enjoy that area because of what we've done up there. Because they won't go up there because they know we own it now. And we're ready, and that goes back to we're ready to bring the fight to them wherever they come. Because we're trying, I have buy-in here, right? I'm not that's one of the things we talk about too. A lot of BP agents come from New York, Maine, all across the country. I'm from here. My team grew up here. We have buy-in here. This is our home. This is where we live. And this is why we strive so hard to make it safe again for us. Okay. So there's women, children, everything, and this is 67 miles north of the border that they're walking to get there. But they're smuggling families through this corridor as well. So here's a good idea. This group here, there are 3 males. Some of them had prior crimes. They crossed the border at this point. We apprehended them 76 miles north of the line. They were almost to Benson. They were just walking the river all the way up to going. So kind of the different things that we're seeing here. The total track that they did before we caught them was 34.76 miles. So this is the most current. You can see 2018 to 2019. This is illegal alien activity. Mule just for the month of February. You can see the illegal aliens have doubled what we're seeing. And the bigger we get, the more we're seeing. Right? There's just some different numbers on apprehensions of what we're seeing with the illegal aliens. The blue is what we're apprehending. The red is what we're seeing. You can see we've had some decent months and we've had some not so decent months. Right now, I think the percentages were 55%. Same concept here. This is our activity of what you're seeing versus 2017 all the way to 2019. So the blue is 17, red's 18, green's 19. You can kind of see what we're doing here. We're just going. And I can already tell you, I was telling the chief, we've seen 31 since midnight last night and this meeting this morning. So, we're actually, the guys are currently trying to go after.
What's going on there?
Yeah, they're going to just try again. But we got to be ready for him the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time. I just caught an individual, and he was a 4-time deported felon. 4-time deported felon, and he was walking around the mountains like he owned them. 4 times he was deported as a felon. So I will tell you that we don't have the 300 give-ups, right, like Yuma's dealing with, or the 100-man give-up. Everybody we deal with here does not want to get caught. They're not coming across at 100 and just sitting down, right? Every one of these guys is wearing camouflage. They're trying to avoid our detections. These guys are not, they're not the ones that you're seeing, you know, like Yuma's dealing with that, and I think there's a couple other counties, Nogales, where they'll just come across as 100 and sit down, and then wait for Border Patrol to come to them to get processed. That's not what we're seeing here. They're Americans leading the groups, or smuggling drugs, or they're Americans as the coyote leading the group, stuff like that. I've never seen Americans in the groups. They're always the leader of the group. So, yeah. So, and then this is the mule activity. The one thing that's interesting is now that we're pushing outside of our boundaries in our county, we're starting to see the drug smuggling come back, that we're picking up other areas. So we hadn't seen smuggling happen in the county for a while, as you can see, in 18. But then all of a sudden now we're starting to see it come back because we're pushing outside of our borders. And the thought is that we've literally put so many in prison here that they know that they have a consequence if they're in our county. And so they're still doing it, but they're just punched outside. So this is what just the month of just 2018 looks like to present, kind of what we're doing here. And then we'll just go. This is the big one right now. It's 50. We're at a 55% apprehension rate to what we're seeing, and that is a made up rate. Like there's guys claiming they're 98%. I can prove that 55%, and I wish that would be higher. But we're missing about 45% of them. They're getting away from us. So we are on some, but a lot of it is coordination. I mean, we're on our phones coordinating efforts every day, 7 days a week, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. We never ever let a group go. We always make it a point to go after everything. So going back to here. You guys are asking a lot of human smugglings. We've seen 1,644, but that number's already gone way up more than that because this isn't this month. This is just up to February. So, just talking about what we've seen. So if you think about our little section of the border, we can prove 1,644 illegal human smuggling has occurred. 165 mules have tried to smuggle into our county. And what we're trying to do now is, yes, we don't prosecute the smugglers of the groups, but the federal government does. So we're trying to use our information to start federal cases with our Border Patrol partners. So we have 3 that have already been dished out, and we have 19 pending cases that we're trying to get this human smuggler prosecuted through the federal government by using our information. And that's kind of what that kind of explains there. So, yes, they go back to get another load. That's their job.
So they take a bus back.
They can, well, like that one guy, stole that vehicle and went back. So they can, they walk back. They get any means. They get a ride back, depending on what's going on.
In the meantime, there's a lot of peripheral crimes that go.
Yes, the Trento homicide was probably a mule going southbound that ran into him, and the guy ended up killing him. So it's one of the things we're really focused on that aspect. There's a little town called Portal. It's a very beautiful town. Has a lot of really nice houses in it. That was an insanely amount of burglaries happened in that little town because they were either stealing because it was a we call a seasonal city. So houses would be vacant for months, and they knew that they would hit them repeat. Some people live in them, and we were seeing that. So the moment we see a hit, then we start making the phone calls. It's on our phones.
When the alert goes off?
No, I live on my phone. You just look at your phone. So literally we just check them every few minutes, or we have full-time guys that try to help us check them as well, and they'll send out a text or an alert. So once we see that group, then we know who to call. And so what we're trying to do is that there's technology out there that we're hoping to get that we can take this all to the next level with drones and things like that. But it all comes with a huge price tag because these things, we need them to go miles, right? Miles, like I'm talking from here to Phoenix. And there's technology out there to do that. It's just the cost of it is really up there.
Questions?
Anybody?
You were just talking about that. You're talking about thinking, I'm about to go to Texas here pretty soon and talk about, you got to think of, yeah, we use it for what we're using it here for, but urban, there's things that I've built that it could be in this room and like you were talking about there, and you wouldn't know it was here, but it was doing exactly what we designed it to do. And you got to think of, NYPD and all these other agencies that are using old school technology. This is a very, very cheap version of something you can get real-time photo of. And that's what I'm trying to talk to people about now, is that we have taken this so far to the next level. Stop thinking of it just as a border patrol or a border issue. Start using it as everything you think of in city environments and all that. And I've done this already. We've used it in the city and things like that. Stop thinking this way. Stop thinking, huge, right? So I can already tell you that several countries are starting to look at what we're doing and start implementing things because they found that this is better border security, real time versus a sensor in the ground, and that's occurring. So what happened is right here at this bathroom, we observed a drug smuggling organization mule drugs up with drug mules. Load vehicle came in through here, parked by that bathrooms. We saw it load up into the vehicle, and then we took the vehicle down on the highway, and it was loaded with marijuana. And she had several guns and some other narcotics inside her vehicle. So, but this was a known smuggling corridor that we targeted at the beginning of when we started this issue with SABRE. So the camera there.
Hey, Tom Trento, Director of the United West again. We just want to thank you for watching the tremendous briefing by Sergeant Tim Williams, SABRE Unit, Arizona. As many of you know, we experienced a fire a little over a year ago next door, and it basically destroyed our place. Didn't stop us. We've been rocking and rolling and fighting bad guys and doing all of that, but right now we want to tell you good news. We're in the process of redoing our facility somewhere in Florida, and we want to just show you a little bit of that. We're getting ready, we're gearing up for a battle, 2020 election, where the Marxists and the Muslim Brotherhood are attacking conservatives and Donald Trump. So this is going to be our base of operations. This is our war room under reconstruction. Come on, I'll show you the studio. All right, now I want to take you into the control room here. As you can see, there's wires and machines all over the place and monitors. Here's where all the guys sit and work everything. But it's all being redone, and we thank you for the donors who are helping us do this. Let's go to our green screen studio right now. All right, now we're in our green screen studio where lights are being rehung and all of that. Here's where we do a lot of the recreation to give the viewer the context for the information we're communicating. But we also have a set studio. Let's go over to that now. All right, now we're in the set studio where we have a set. We designed it for different applications for the media that we're producing. Bottom line, as you can see, we're getting ready, we're gearing up for a 1.5-year battle, primarily in Florida, which is a significant swing state. We need to educate voters on understanding the Marxist and Muslim Brotherhood attack against the state. We need to mobilize 1 million voters for November 3rd, 2020. And we're leaving very shortly to go to Israel to study why walls work, border security, border sovereignty, that the Israelis have successfully navigated through the years. Then we're going back to the southern border, to Arizona and the other southern states, because this battle for border security and illegal immigration is going to be significant all over the country, and in particular here in Florida. So we want you to get involved with us as we rebuild everything. We want you to join the team to fight. We'll have future media that will invite you to come and join us, and we need your donation support for sure. But again, our hats are off to the Cochise County Sheriff's Department, to all the good folks there, and we're going to feature more of their phenomenal work in the months ahead. Tom Trento for the United West team. We'll see you soon.